To check unheard messages, press 1-1. Main menu. First unheard message.
Hey, Shane, it's Phil Callaway calling you. Good job there with the show. I was watching a little bit of it, not sure what the deal is with me on a mountaintop, and the awkward Star Wars references. But other than that, well done, and to each his own. Maybe, I don't know, try to make me look better. If you can Photoshop something in there, maybe give me some hair. Hair would be great. I don't know. But take care. Behave. Bye.
End of message. To erase this message, press 7. To save it, press 9. To hear more...
In a world where laughter has been drowned in an ocean of cynicism, one man, an author, and a gentleman with a full, rich head of hair, tastefully depicted here as a merman, swims alone against the tides of despair, bringing hope and laughter to the masses. That man is author and humorist Phil Callaway, and he joins us once more today on The Living Room with the Wiebes.
Come look at this. I totally photoshopped him as a merman with Justin Bieber hair. It's amazing. It's amazing. Oh, he's going to be so mad. Ugh.
So I've met you a couple times now, but I've read some of your books. I haven't read all 25. I'm sorry, I haven't read all 25.
Okay, I'm done.
I feel like I know you, and I feel like I know your wife too, and your family. And because you write books that are true to you, it's got to be like the strangest thing to be walking around and sort of feeling like your life's on the outside. Everybody knows everything about you. So I just wondered how that...
Yeah, you're constantly meeting people that know everything about you.
Yeah.
And you know nothing of them.
Never thought about that before.
Yeah. Oh,
I started writing. There's a long answer to your question, if that's okay.
No,
I started writing.
We'll edit it all out later.
For a magazine that had asked me to write, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I said to my wife, "Honey, look at me. I'm no James Dobson," and she said, "I know he has money." And I said, "Well, what do I do?" And she said, "Well, just tell stories. And you're always doing that at home anyway, and tell us there's hope."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've done, including stuff about my wife. Then I okay everything through her. I pass it, believe you me. I've learned that the hard way. One of the greatest articles I ever wrote was about my mother-in-law. It never saw the light of day because my wife saw it and read it and went and kawoosh and whatever else. But so that's just part of life, and we figure if it can help one person to hear about some of my failures and some of the great things God has done, then it's worth it. Somebody comes to me in an airport or wherever it is, I'm just very grateful. I really am. I come from a church background that wasn't exactly grace-oriented, and so little kids were not even to be seen, certainly not heard. And so when I was 5 years of age, a wonderful man of God, L.E. Maxwell, he started Prairie Bible Institute, but he bent over at the back of a church and he just kind of patted me on the shoulder and said, "Hi, Sonny, how are you doing?" And that, all these years later, had a great impact on me, which is really kind of strange. But, just by taking the time to encourage a little kid, it made a huge difference. So, yeah, good question. But, to this day, I'm just very grateful.
Right, so it doesn't have a negative connotation to you when someone mentions that, like there's this disclosure out there that...
No.
So in that light, would you think you're an extrovert then? That kind of would...
Yeah, I'm a strange mix of that because I can be a real extrovert, and I'm called on to do that. And from life in the public a little bit, that you need to do that. I love my quiet time as well. I mean, I'm in a little town where you can hear the sunset. That's how quiet it is, and that's partly why we're there. We love that. And a lot of our lives are spent in cities or on stages, but we love to be quiet as well.
What makes you laugh? What's funny? We find you funny.
We find you funny.
That's sweet.
I find my kids funny. My daughter. We mentioned pickles. I love pickles. we every fall put up pickles. We do them in dill and all that. You know this? Yeah. And I carefully calculate. Okay, I got 2 weeks per jar for this next dearth of winter
You're
that we are
rationing
about.
them. Yeah,
Yes.
you're rationing. I get it.
My daughter, she
my
works
dad.
for me. She comes to our home. What do you think she's doing? She's going into the fridge. She's eating my pickles. I am just, wow, how could you do this, Rachel? So I got a big jar of pickles at a store that rhymes with ballwort. And you know what I mean. I didn't want to name that. Okay. So I bring this home and I say, these are your pickles. You can have, and she thanks me. That's great. Find out, yesterday, she has been taking pickles from the jar I bought, putting them in my jars, taking my good deals out. And so
She's
it's
swapping.
sad. Yeah. Kids help me laugh. The average child laughs 200 times a day. We get to be adults of our age and suddenly we're not laughing so much. And it's a sad thing. You know, you'll find things to laugh about. I saw this on a delivery room door. Push, push, push in the hospital. Stuff like that makes me laugh, you know? My wife's hairdryer, it says not to be used while sleeping or in the shower.
Yeah, I laugh at those too.
Isn't
I
it
think
great?
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
My mom and I laugh about those.
Yeah, there's on a stroller, please remove infant before folding for storage.
Yeah,
So there's stuff all around us to laugh about. We can find it. We got to go looking.
And it's so special to watch the kids, like their senses of humor develop. And I love reading your stuff for that reason too, because your books are written over the span of your kids' lives, essentially, right? So we get to see that from your perspective too. But we were outside the other day, and we don't always get the cold weather like this, but we were fostering this one icicle.
Oh no!
Right? You know. Have you ever done this?
Yeah.
You're like, you're watching it grow, and you're encouraging the melting of it, so it gets longer and bigger, and it's very impressive. And so finally, it was time to break this off and show the rest of the family. Me and Joelle were working on this, and so I broke it off, and I said, "Look, Joelle, it's such a fantastic." And she said, "Yeah, we can take it inside, and we can store it in the freezer." And it slipped out of my hand and smashed on the ground. And seamlessly, she went from "we can take it inside and store it in the freezer" to "oh, we can drop it on the concrete. That's fine too."
She said
She's
this?
7.
Good for
And
her.
it was
Way
just
to
like,
go.
oh shoot! I
She's
laughed
got-
till I cried.
Yeah, she's far more mature than 7, let me tell you.
I
to
thought
say
you
that.
were going to tell the story about how I smashed the icicle you had been fostering with the kids.
Oh no, that's a different story.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
just went
different,
up and
more
smacked it.
serious
I didn't know
episode.
they were saving it, and
Then-
it was this big
Then there was the
long one,
next icicle that we fostered. It was far more beautiful than the first.
and I knocked it down.
They need help,
I don't know
and
if-
I'm here to offer it to them.
There's
Dr.
not
Phil,
enough
I just
time.
We need this.
want to help
We
them.
need this. We need
Our
Phil, we need
daughter,
Phil.
when she was 16, put Psalm 56:1 on her bedroom door. Have mercy on me, O God, for men hotly pursue me. They never stop making you laugh.
That's
It's great.
awesome. So Angela and I performed at the Insight for Living banquet in Abbotsford a few years back, and you spoke at it.
Yeah.
And you read the story of dealing with your mom's dementia and this interaction that takes place between you and your daughter. As I recall, I couldn't find it. I was looking for it. As I recall, you guys are sitting in the car, and you kind of have this beautiful way of emoting on this multi-level scale, right? Where we go from, okay, here's the harsh reality of life, but here's how we can deal with it, and the humor associated with that. I was sitting there bawling my eyes out as you read this story. And you've lost your mom since then. And I want to give you the opportunity. What's your absolute, and maybe there's a few that'll come to mind, but what's your favorite memory of your mom? Like just to talk about her a bit, and you can choose to go in a humorous direction with that or whatever, but we offer our sincerest condolences.
Thank you.
Doesn't matter if your mom's 150 or 50, it doesn't, it's just, it's
she's
painful.
always your mom.
Yeah, that's just it.
Yeah, it's very ironic that I make a living, if you want to call it that, helping people laugh and helping them focus on things that'll bring joy to their lives. Because my earliest memories are of my mother sick. Now, that's what they called it in those days. I didn't know that she had severe depression. So I would go into her room and try to cheer her up. And that's how I got started in comedy, really. But what I came to understand was this was a lady, and I won't get into it here, who had dealt with severe difficulties in her childhood, had married a guy who Dad was an amazing guy. He had dealt with so much difficulty in his own life. He was part Scotch and part ginger ale. The guy was, they came from a family where they would, they'd have guns going off in the house, and the uncle shot dead and stuff.
Oh,
wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, for me in later years to come to understand, wow, here's a couple who dealt with all of this stuff and still were able to raise 5 kids who loved God, is really a remarkable tribute to them. Mom told me I could do stuff. She would say, you know what, she would say, I like how you worded that. Or, she told me once when I wrote one of my first stories, well, maybe you'll be a writer. Now, she was a writer. She wrote 5 books herself.
Oh, wow.
And kind of sensed that. So Mom really encouraged me. I think she looked beyond all of my problems and saw something there that could be polished, like the oyster does, with a pearl. And so, best thing of all, Mom believed in God enough to believe He could do something in the life of her crazy kids. And she saw a Gap t-shirt coming. She knew what it stood for, God Answers Prayer. And she prayed. My earliest memories of Mom's prayers were her saying, "Dear God, thank you, he's in bed," referring to me. But anyway, she taught me to pray, now I lay me down to sleep. Pray thee, Lord, if I should die before I wake. And I thought, what am I going to die of? A hardening of the arteries. I'm 5.
Yeah.
And then my older brother threatened to kill me, and my prayers took on new urgency. But Mom did so many things. She loved my dad. She loved me enough to discipline me, which she did. And so I'm a rich kid when I think of them having 62 and a half years of marriage. Just loving me enough to tell me so. I'm just one very, very wealthy boy.
It's beautiful.
As the ocean, loving kindness as the flood. When the Prince of Life our ransom shed for us His precious blood, who His love will not remember, who can see